It's been an interesting week with your presentations and trying to all of us go back and reframe. I think it's been mixed emotions. We all know where we were. We know the fears that we felt. And for me, thinking about where I was and the policies we tried, I think that the main thing I focused on this week, and I was with Andrew in Washington earlier, is that if you look at the leadership from Secretary Paulson, Chairman Bernanke, and then Secretary Geithner, that we're pretty fortunate. If you think about it, we had someone who was a historian of the Depression. We had someone who'd spent their life in public policy at Treasury and the Fed. And then we had a business leader who knew markets. And the three of them came together, Joe, and they worked really collaboratively well, which doesn't always happen. And number two, we had a transition from a Republican administration to a Democrat administration, and everyone was adult-like and focused on solving the problem. And I think for the citizenry, that's a pretty fortunate situation.
That's a good assessment. We were very fortunate.
And you know, it's no one got everything right. And crises don't engender appreciation. No one is saying you did an amazing work. This was scary. This was uncomfortable, and in most of our lifetimes, unprecedented. You know, we were losing 500,000 jobs a month.
Right.
And so the idea that people were bothered, scared, and very challenging times. And
we did recover. The rap might be that maybe the regulation went too far, or maybe the Fed at zero. Some people actually thought that would actually dampen the recovery to some extent. Other people mentioned some policy mistakes, whether it's doing Obamacare right at the height of the financial crisis. There's a lot of things that might have held us back too, I think.
You did 100 things, and there's no way they were all right. Period. End of conversation. But I think maybe the best benchmarking is look at our relative stability and rate of recovery. If you look around the world, it appears as though our system is more stable today and more on the front foot and has improved at a better rate than some other places.
But economically, we've always outperformed. As far as GDP, we've outperformed Europe for 40 years, almost by a 40% number on GDP. So we should be to say we're not exceptional. We are exceptional, our economy here, and dynamic.
And now I think the question we've started to think about, and I think your shows have framed this, is really let's try to assess this and think what we can learn in terms of trying to be better prepared. What authorities didn't regulators have? What tools do they need? Of the things we've done in the last 10 years, what's worked pretty well and what maybe we need to adjust? A good example would be that the forward-leaning perspective with regard to bank regulation clearly was a bit over-heavy on small banks. That's been dialed back.
You don't expect to see major changes from what we've already seen. It sounds like it's entrenched.
I think the one issue, though, that I would have guessed, and where I'm wrong, and I'm wrong a lot, is I would have thought 10 years later we would have tackled housing finance. And that's a box that no one's opened.
Fannie and Freddie.
And it just hasn't. And listen, it's politically complicated.
It's also at a time when Fannie and Freddie have been paying in a lot to the Treasury.
Yes, but I think it seems as though people just haven't gotten back to that. And I would have guessed, if we were sitting here after the crisis, I would have guessed that we would have gotten at housing finance and had a real revision and had a point of how to think about it forward.